Hi, my name is Debbie Gertler. I work for FamilySearch at the Family History Library. This video is called First Steps for Research in Puerto Rico, the Census. As you watch this video, I hope you will learn what the census is and what kind of information is found in census records. We will also talk about how it can help you with the research of your Puerto Rican ancestors. We will finish up with some exercises showing how to locate and search census records. A census is usually conducted by a government to get an official population count, generally for taxation and representation purposes. It is basically a count and description of the population of a country, state, county, or city for a given date, or in other words, a snapshot of a family or a household taken on a certain day. Puerto Rico became a U.S. territory in 1898 and began to be included in the U.S. federal census beginning in 1910 and every 10 years after that. Currently available U.S. Census records for Puerto Rico include 1910, 1920, 1930, and 1940. There was also a special census taken in 1935 for Puerto Rico. This census can be found on ancestry.com. Here are the column headings from the 1910 census. You will notice the columns are in Spanish. Although Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, the official languages are Spanish and English, with most government documents being in Spanish. And here you can see a few of the columns. We have the names, we have relationships, we have a personal description of the individual, and this includes their gender, their color or race, their marital status. And then we also have in the next columns, we have a little bit about where they were born. So the first column is for the person themselves, and then for their father, and then for their mother. And then down here along the bottom, we have some information about their economic status, what they're doing, if they own or if they rent, or if they've had, how much education they've had. So it can be very fascinating to read these columns of information to learn more about your ancestor. If you would like to get copies of the census forms, you can use the FamilySearch Research Wiki and look for the article, United States Census Forms. These will be English versions, but they will help you understand the columns that are written in Spanish. The census can be very helpful for your research. It can provide a residence place for your ancestors, which will enable you to locate other records such as civil registration, church records, and military draft records, and much more. Using an age in a census, you can calculate a birth year. For instance, if someone was reported as 15 in the 1920 census, that calculates to a birth year of about 1905. Two major sites to locate census records are FamilySearch.org, which requires a free account, and Ancestry.com, which requires a paid subscription. You can, however, access Ancestry.com at many public libraries and family history centers. When searching for Puerto Ricans, you will want to remember the formation of the double surname. The first surname is the father's surname, and the second surname is the maternal surname, or her maiden name. For married women, they might be recorded using the paternal surname followed by their maternal surname and the word de, and then her husband's paternal surname or first surname. So my dad's surname is Schertz and my mother's surname is Johnson. So I would be Debbie Schertz Johnson using the Hispanic double surname system. When I married my husband, whose surname is Gertler, then I would be Debbie Schertz Johnson de Gertler. What would your double surname be? For Miguel Ferrer Rincon, Ferrer is his father's surname and Rincon comes from his mother's surname. It is also not uncommon to see the letter Y, meaning and, in between the two surnames, such as Miguel Ferrer y Rincon. So keep all of this in mind when you're searching. It will help you in your searches to be more successful. So let's do a search. We want to find Miguel Ferrer Rincon in the U.S. Census. He was born between 1914 and 1917. I have several search options I can use for his last name. I can just add Ferrer Rincon, or Ferrer y Rincon, or just Ferrer. Some search engines are thrown off by the double surname and search only the last surname, or don't recognize the Y or the E, so it's important to try several variations if you're not finding the person you're looking for. So let's do our search. Here I am in FamilySearch.org. I'm going to click on Search and then Records. And now I'm going to enter the name, Miguel Ferrer Rincon. And he was born between 1914 and 1917. And then I'm going to restrict my results by country, and I'm going to put in here Puerto Rico. And I'm going to click on search. So here are my results, and I just want to show census records for now. So let's go ahead and filter those results to just show census. So here I have my two census results, and you'll notice that in 1930 he's listed as Miguel Ferrer Rincon, and in 1920 he's listed as Miguel Ferrer y Rincon. So it's great that the search engine brought back both of these options. Not all search engines will do that, which is why you need to consider trying a variety of searches. For instance, some search engines give preference to the last surname, and that is not the result that you're looking for. So make sure you try a variety of options as you search. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the 1930 census. So here is our indexed information. We can see that Miguel is 14, race is B, meaning Blanco, and he was born about 1916. He was born in Puerto Rico, as were his parents. Other members of the household include his father, Miguel, his mother, Gloria, R de Ferrer, R meaning for Rincon, remember, Ferrer for father, Rincon for mother. And then we have Miguel and Alberto, who are listed as sons, and then we have some other servants living in the household. Now you always want to take a look at the image, so let's click on the image and take a look and see what other clues might be found there. So here's the 1930 census image, and let's zoom in here on Miguel Ferrer and his family. So here we have Miguel Ferrer, jefe, meaning head of the household. And then we have esposa, his wife, Gloria R. de Ferrer, and then the two sons, Miguel and Alberto, who both carry the surname Ferrer Rincon. Now over here we have the sex, V for varón, M for mujer, B for blanco, and then we have their ages, 43, 34, 14, and 10. Their marital status, C for casados, meaning married, and S for solteros, meaning single. And then the next two columns have to do with education, whether they've attended school and if they can read and write. And these three columns are also very important. The first column is where they say they were born, and the next two columns, this is where father is born and where mother is born. So it's important to look at all of these clues to see what other information you can find. And then as you go further over, you have information about their occupation and their economic status. So it's important to look those things over just to see what other clues you might find in the records. Now let's go back and take a look at the 1920 census result. So here I am back on my results page, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this one for 1920. And again, we have the indexed information. We see that he's living in Santurce, which is a sector of the city of San Juan. He's 4 years old, so gives him an estimated birth year of 1916. He was born in Puerto Rico, as were his parents. As we scroll down, we see Dad, Miguel Ferrer y Otero, and then we see Mother, Gloria Rincon y Garcia de Ferrer. The good news about this one, we've got more clues here. So her paternal surname is Rincon, her father's name, and her maternal surname is Garcia. We had not seen that before, so now we know both of her surnames. And then we also have the two boys, Miguel and Alberto. And then again, we have the servants in the household. Now, it's always important to look at the image. So let's take a look at the image here. So here's my image, and the Ferrer family is up here at the top of the page. So let's zoom in a little bit, take a look at it. So we have Miguel Ferrer y Otero, jefe, meaning he's the head of the household. And then we have his esposa, his wife, Gloria Rincon y Garcia de Ferrer. And then we have the two boys, Miguel Ferrer y Rincon and Alberto. And this line is like a ditto mark, meaning that Alberto's last names are the same as Miguel's. And again, we have much the same information over here in the columns. We have sex and race, and we also have their age and marital status. And then again, we have information about their citizenship and their education. And then we have those three columns identifying their birthplace and the birthplace of their parents. Now let's go back here and look at Alberto for a minute, because there's something here I want to point out. This is his line right here, and it says that his age is 1/12, so meaning he's a month old. So let's take a look at the date of the census. So if this census was taken on the 6th of January in 1920, that tells me that Alberto was most likely born in December of 1919. So I have a good clue as to when I might be able to find his birth record. Let's go back over here and look at Miguel and his family. It's also important when looking at the census to look at the neighbors, because sometimes the neighbors are families as well, family relatives. So let's take a look. I've zoomed in a little bit. So here we have Monserrate Otero y Navedo de Ferrer. And this is a female. She is the head of the household, and she has 3 children. Notice these 3 children share the same name, Ferrer y Otero, as Miguel, who we saw up here. So it's very likely that this is his mother, with her names, 2 names being Otero y Navedo, and her husband, Ferrer. And then these 3 children, Monserrate, a daughter, Jose, a son, and Anna M., another daughter. So it's important to take a look at this, because we may find as we progress in this series of videos that they are actually related. So it's important to look at all the clues in the image when you look at a census record or any kind of a record, so that you make sure that you don't miss anything. So now I'm back on my results page, and now that I know that Miguel Ferrer Rincon's dad's name is Miguel Ferrer Otero, let's do another search and see if we can find him in the census. So I'm going to go back up here to records. Let's put his name in the search engine. Remember, it's Miguel Ferrer y Otero. And based on the age in the census, his birth date should be between 1885 and 1888. And again, because the family's in Puerto Rico, I just want to see all the families or all the people in Puerto Rico with this name. So I've restricted my location to Puerto Rico. I'm going to click on search. Now you'll see there's a lot of results here. So I want to just see the census for the purpose of this demonstration. So let's take a look at the census records. So here we have the 1920, which we saw before, with Miguel Ferrer y Otero. And then we have a 1940, which we haven't seen yet, but we also have a 1910 census. And you'll notice that the 1930 census didn't show up. Do you know why? Because he was only listed as Miguel Ferrer, and so the search engine didn't return that as a possibility. That's why it's really important to try various search options, various search parameters, so that you can get all the information and find them no matter how they might be indexed in the record. Let's take a look at this 1910 census. So here is the indexed information, and we have Miguel Ferrer y Otero. Again, the family is in Santurce, and he has an estimated birth year of 1887. His relationship to the head of the household is son. Let's see who is the head of the household. Look, it's Monserrate Otero y Navedo de Ferrer. We saw her living next door to the family in 1920, you'll recall. And then there are these children, Monserrate, Miguel, Carmen, Jose, and Anna M. And you'll remember that Monserrate, Jose, and Anna were also in the household previously in 1920. Now let's take a look at the image. Let's zoom in and take a look at the family. So here we have Monserrate Otero y Navedo de Ferrer, and you'll notice in her status, marital status, she has a V. V stands for viuda, meaning she's a widower. And we also have some great information in the 1910 census that she is the mother of 9 children with 7 still living. And then we have the names of her children, and then criada, these are a couple of servants that are living in the house. And again, we have all of their ages and information and the birthplaces for them and for both of their parents. So it's important to always look at the image so you can get more information about the family that will lead you to clues and other records. So now I've gone back and I want to take a look at the 1940 census result. Here we can see the information that's been indexed. And again, they're living in Santurce. Let's take a look at the image because it's important to always look at the image. So here I've zoomed in at the 1940 census image, and we have Miguel Ferrer y Otero and Gloria Rincon de Ferrer. And then we have two sons here, Alberto Ferrer y Rincon and Gonzalo, and Ferrer y Rincon is his surname. Remember, these are your ditto marks. And we'll notice the ages of the family. It looks like father is being reported as 43. I'm not sure that quite matches up with what we know. It may be off a little bit. I believe he should be about 53. Mother is 44. Alberto is 20. And Gonzalo is only 3 years old. Now, we haven't seen Gonzalo before. We've not seen him. He wouldn't have been born when we looked at the 1930 census. So this is another child that we can add to the family. And this is why it's so important to look at every census record for the family that you can find, because you may pick up things like this, a child that you've missed, if you've just looked at a few censuses and not all of them. So that's important to do. And then over here we have the usual birth information, where they were living before, and then some information about what they do and some other economic type information. It's always important to make sure you look at those images to see what else might be found there. Now, here I am in Ancestry.com, and I'm here because I mentioned to you earlier that there's a 1935 census for Puerto Rico. So I want to show you how to find that and access it so you can search it. Let's go to search, and then we'll go down here to the catalog. And if you'll enter in 1935 census, Puerto Rico, there you'll have your results, and it's important to notice that there are two. The one you want is this first one that says U.S. Social and Population Schedules, because is the one that's going to list the people and the families living in the households. The other one is an agricultural census, and that might help you if you're interested in looking at property and what kind of material goods perhaps your ancestor owned. But if you're looking for names, go to this population schedule. So I've clicked on that, and then now I have the option to search for the name. Now I can put in Miguel Ferrer Rincon and see what comes back. Another option that I can do down here is I can put in surnames to see what else might come back. So I put in Ferrer Rincon from father and mother, search. And as you can see, we've got this very first result is the one that we were looking for. So be sure to play around with the search engine on these, because if you're not finding what you're looking for, try taking out some information or perhaps adding a little bit more information so that you can find the results that you're looking for. And having this double surname system is an extra bonus because it gives you an option to put in a surname for father and mother, and perhaps improve your chances of finding the right results. So what are the clues we found in the census records? Let's take a look. We found the name of Miguel's father, Miguel Ferrer y Otero, and we know that he was born about 1887. We also found the name of his mother, Gloria Rincon y Garcia de Ferrer, and we know she was born about 1896 or 1897 based on the estimated birth year for her age as provided in the census. We know Miguel was born in 1916 or thereabouts, perhaps 1915, and we know that his brother Alberto was most likely born in December of 1919, and that the family was living in Santurce in San Juan. And in our later search, we also found the name of Miguel Ferrer y Otero's mother, which was Monserrate Otero y Navedo, and we found some of his siblings as well in the 1910 census. So all of these are clues that are going to lead me to other records where I can find more information about this family. So it's important to make note of all of the things that you find. Make sure you look at all of the images and read through all of the clues to see what's there so that you can advance your research and extend your family tree. Well, how'd you do? Do you now feel like you know what the census is, what kind of information can be found there, and how it can help you with your research in Puerto Rico? I hope you also feel confident enough now to locate and start searching in those census records. The next class in the series covers civil registration records, another important record type for Puerto Rico. We will continue to research this same family by examining civil registration records. I hope you'll join us. Thanks for hanging out with me for a few minutes.